As predicted in yesterday's video, we got an update from the developers of Star Wars Squadrons announcing the final cosmetic updates and balance changes coming to Star Wars Squadrons. In the previous video to this one, we discussed how the player base is slowly shrinking and how this does impact newer players coming into the ranked scene. Again, this happens naturally with a AA game that has no live service attached to it, and as mentioned previously, Star Wars Squadrons is a fantastic game. And in terms of balancing, I'm really happy with how it is right now. The developers have done a fantastic job from the launch all the way to this final update. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about the 2 blog posts that have been released, discussing what will be going on with Star Wars Squadrons throughout the rest of 2021, and the patch notes for this final balance update. So without further ado, let's dive right into the video. So the first blog post about Star Wars Squadrons is named Balancing and Beyond. Here is a quick overview of what the developers have done for the game since launch. One thing being the surprise content update, despite Ian Fraser, creative director of the game, saying there wasn't going to be any, and in custom matches, which was a huge request by many players, balance tweaks, a ton of cosmetics being added, and acknowledging the esports scene that has been created, mostly thanks to the Calrissian Cup and Operation Ace. From here, the devs do mention that the next update will be server-side only, so you will not have to make any update on your Steam or Epic Game Store, nor have to download a patch on your respective game console, but there is possibility of downtime. Next up, they mention some of the cosmetics you may have missed out on, that being completing online challenges through dogfights and fleet battles, and the 2 remaining Twitch Prime rewards associated with Star Wars Squadrons and Amazon. Right after mentioning those, they mention the final cosmetic drop is planned on May the 4th, although new operation rewards which can be earned by getting a certain rank at the end of each season every 2 months. Those customization rewards will be coming out every 2 months, probably until the end of 2021, and they do gracefully ask that data miners don't spoil anything for people. Myself included, I definitely don't want to be spoiled on what will be coming out on May the 4th, so we won't be covering it on this channel. And they finish off this blog post thanking everyone that have bought Star Wars Squadrons, the pro players in the esports scene, the content creators surrounding Star Wars Squadrons, and everyone in between. And they officially announced that they're beginning full work on their next project. And that does seem to be the final word by the Star Wars Squadrons team. A really nice way to finish what is a fantastic game that I've enjoyed from beginning to end. But we move on from the final blog post discussing the new cosmetic options over to the final possible update to Star Wars Squadrons. And this is primarily balancing, and there isn't actually a lot of balance changes coming in, but the 2 main things that they're going to be changing is focused on the A-Wing. And I gotta be honest guys, these are pretty sizable nerfs. So the changes are A-Wing shield capacity decreased by 20%, and the A-Wing shield overcharge decay rate increased by 100% to match the TIE Defenders. Now this is huge, especially when the A-Wing shield recharge rate has been decreased by 30% already. This is to combat a lot of the complaints many people had that the A-Wing was almost unkillable. Because you have to rely on so much chip damage on an A-Wing because of their maneuverability, it kind of becomes redundant when they're able to recharge those shields very quickly. TIE Interceptors on the other hand don't have that luxury. Once they take that damage, they have to keep it. That's why many pro players run Supply Droid on TIE Interceptors, because that's their only reason for survivability. As for TIE Defender, they rely entirely on shields. They've got absolutely no hull. So once their shields are down, they're as good as dead. A-Wings don't really have that weak spot as much. So it's definitely good to see the A-Wings being brought down to a TIE Defender level in terms of shields. I think many people were going to expect this to happen, especially with the rise of ion lasers and ion missiles to counter the shields. So whilst this is going to hurt lower tier interceptor players, it's definitely going to make pro players think twice on whether or not they're going to run the A-Wing. And again, a lot of these nerfs have definitely made changes to the game. Remember, A-Wing interceptors used to be the best for capital ship damage and survivability and dogfighting. They were the be-all and best-all of what you needed to play. Now, they certainly do have their weak points. Personally for me, I think we should have seen some TIE Defender nerfs in here as well, mostly on the basis that many people are running TIE Defenders over TIE Interceptors now, because the TIE Defender can do quite a lot of what the Interceptor can do, but also deal a lot in terms of capital ship damage and have a lot of survivability to boot. This is why we're seeing a lot of pro players run multiple TIE Defenders if they're playing the Empire. those shields are just overwhelmingly strong in high tier gameplay. And it just seems to be that power shunting and increased primary damage output isn't enough to compensate for not having shields. So I'm a little bit surprised that there was no changes on the TIE Defender yet, and most importantly of all, I'm actually really surprised there's no buffs to the B-Wing either. The B-Wing is just never used in medium or high tier gameplay. Unfortunately, it's just too slow, it's too big of a target, and despite its massive damage output, they can't get to any objective before they get taken out. And for me personally, I was really hoping to see that we'd see those AI changes. And for anybody that doesn't know what I'm talking about, AI have different health values depending on what map and what faction you're running. So there are some games and maps where you can kill AI in one shot of your multi-lock missile with your TIE Bomber or Y-Wing. But in other maps like Nadiri Dockyards or even Sisabo, they just barely survive after being hit by one of your multi-lock missiles. And honestly, that type of gameplay is make or break for some teams. But who knows, maybe we'll see that update on May the 4th. The developers are aware of it, but whether or not we'll be seeing any more actual updates to Star Wars Squadrons, we just don't know. Who knows, maybe that is a server-side thing they can do as well. But that is pretty much everything from both of these blog posts. If you want to read all of them in detail, I'll link both of them in the pinned comment down below and in the description. For me personally, I've absolutely loved playing this game since its launch on October the 2nd. And yes, whilst I haven't completed the single player, I've absolutely adored the multiplayer. Honestly, it's been an absolute wild ride, and I wish they'll come back to this game like a battle pass or purchasable cosmetics, just so there's a constant amount of people joining the game and playing the game regularly. But either way, it's been an absolute blast, and I'm still excited to see what is in the world of Star Wars Squadrons. And the reason I say that is because, as mentioned in my previous video, the meta is still changing to this day, despite there being very small updates coming to the game. This is because pro players are still discovering so many aspects and gameplay methods to the game that most of us don't even see. So yeah, I'm still loving the game. I'm really excited to see where it'll go in the rest of the year, and I definitely wish EA Motive all the best in their future project. Thank you guys for making such an awesome fucking game. But this is where I'll pass the question over to you guys. How has your experience with Star Wars Squadrons been? Have you enjoyed it all the way from launch till now? Perhaps you stopped playing, but you still are interested to see how the game's going. Or maybe the game hasn't been for you, and for some reason you're just watching this video, seeing what the final update is all about. Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below. I'll read all of them and try to get back to some of you as well. And of course, my due diligence of today's video. If you want to support this channel even further, then you can join our Patreon to get EcksToo newsletters and extra videos that will never come out on this channel. And if you're feeling spectacularly spicy, you can get your own EcksToo avatar done by a professional artist. And hey, if Patreon's not for you, you can hit that join button and become a YouTube membership instead. They have the same rewards as well. But other than that, guys, I've been Charlie, you've been watching EcksToo, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care, guys.